Android has achieved the feat of completely conquering the mobile industry. And what if I told you that this company shouldn't even exist? Originally, this operating system was designed for cameras. Despite its humble beginnings, Android now powers over 70% of the world's smartphones in 2025. It humiliated BlackBerry, it buried Nokia, it survived Microsoft and its Windows Phone. And above all, it succeeded where almost everyone else failed, standing up to Apple. But without manufacturing a single phone, without selling a single device. So, how did Android conquer the mobile industry? How did an outsider overturn the market in just a few years? Is it thanks to Google, thanks to Chinese manufacturers, or is it thanks to a much more subtle strategy? Hello, Team Mindset. I hope you are doing well. After exploring the history of many phone brands that use this operating system on the channel, you have regularly asked for an analysis of what made Android successful. In this video, we'll dissect the 3 levers that allowed Android to crush its competitors. And as you will see, this method reveals as much about tech as it does about power in the digital age. Android today is the most used mobile operating system in the world. But originally, it wasn't even a smartphone project. In 2023 in Palo Alto, an engineer named Andy Rubin founded a small startup. His idea is simple: develop an operating system for digital cameras. The goal is to allow users to automatically transfer their photos to a computer via the internet. It's ambitious but poorly calibrated. Very quickly, Rubin realizes that this market is too narrow and, above all, in decline. Mobile phones begin to evolve around this time. Although not yet smartphones, their potential becomes clear. Rubin changes direction, deciding to design his system for mobile phones instead. He envisions an open, free, and customizable operating system, the anti-Symbian, the anti-Windows Mobile, and without knowing it, the anti-Apple. As of 2005, Android lacked a working prototype. No customers, no revenue. Google notices the project, sensing that the web is about to transition from computers to pockets. It buys Android for $50 million. At the time, it's a gamble, but today, it's a masterstroke. Internally, Android becomes a confidential project. The goal is to create an alternative to Windows Mobile. But in January 2007, Steve Jobs presents the iPhone, and everything changes. The Android team knows they must review the interface, logic, and user experience. Everything. The future will not be keyboard, more screen, it will be screen only. Android pivots to adopt a strategy opposite to Apple's. Apple locks, Android opens. In 2008, the HTC Dream comes out. It's the first Android smartphone. Not the most beautiful, a bit slow, but enough to start a tsunami. You may have recently learned about the brand's history through video. For those who haven't seen it, check the description. Other brands quickly take interest, turning a defensive project into a global offensive. Google's goal is not to sell phones, but to capture your attention and data. Android is not just an operating system, it's an alternative model to Apple's, a platform that is designed to spread quickly. Every manufacturer becomes a relay of this. Expansion, understand, this story is to understand everything that follows. Because what Google launched here, it's not a product, it's a silent, relentless global strategy. And indeed, Android used this openness to dominate the industry without fighting a single battle. Android was born with a simple idea to become an open alternative. And from its launch, this idea will turn into a formidable strategic lever. At first, the iPhone was a revolution, but also a prison. I was talking about it in the video about the methods used by Apple to lock you into its ecosystem. Apple controlled all the hardware, software, applications, updates. It validated everything flawlessly, elegant and smooth, yet closed. Android took the opposite approach, imposing nothing and offering everything. Its code was open source. This meant any manufacturer could use it, adapt it, and improve it for free. For manufacturers, it was a blessing. No more unstable or aging operating systems like Symbian or Windows Mobile. With Android, they had a solid, modern, and adaptable foundation. No fees, no exclusivity, no lock-in. The result is that within a few months, Android was everywhere. Samsung, LG, Sony, HTC all joined the wave. At all prices, for all audiences, dozens of models and hundreds of variations. Meanwhile, Apple stayed true to its strategy of offering one premium phone model per year. And this openness, it wasn't just a technical choice, it was a strategic bet. Google knew that by offering Android, it would become indispensable. Android comes with Google services integrated by default. Google Search, Gmail, Chrome, YouTube, and most importantly, the Play Store, the gateway to all applications. On the surface, Android was free. In reality, it was a Trojan horse, a platform offered to the world to better install the Google ecosystem everywhere. And this plan worked wonderfully well. Google didn't earn anything on the phone sold, but earned everything on the attention. Every search, every video, every ad displayed strengthened its grip. The more Android spread, the more inevitable Google became. And this openness produced another major effect: accelerated innovation. Because instead of centralizing everything, like Apple, Google let others experiment. Samsung tested giant screens, Huawei pushed photo sensors, and Xiaomi disrupted prices. And Android was learning from all these trials for free. Android wasn't looking for perfection, it was simply looking to proliferate. And this proliferation generated a snowball effect. More phones, more users, more data, so more power. This is how Android won its first real victory against Apple. The victory of mass. Android's greatest genius may be that it has never had to fight alone. Where Apple was building a vertical empire, Android chose the network strategy. Google merely used Android as a weapon without producing a phone or investing in factories, and others took advantage of it. Whether it's Samsung, Huawei, Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo, all saw in Android a means to survive, then to dominate. Each with its own market, target, culture, and priorities. But all with the same system inside. Even if it needs to be specified, Huawei has since evolved under constraint and ultimately came out stronger. As we were discussing recently, all these brands were not customers, they were soldiers of an ecosystem. Hundreds of players, each free to act, but all connected to the same base, and this base is Android. What Google has built is not a production line, it's a global alliance in which each manufacturer becomes a strategic relay. They take risks, test ideas, and explore niches. And Google, it stays in the center without exposing itself. In India, Xiaomi is flooding the market. In Africa, these tensions that you may not know within Phoenix and Techno or even local brands. In Europe, of course, Samsung remains dominant. In China, despite tensions, many models still run on Android variants. And all this works without any direct coordination, because Android doesn't give orders, it provides the infrastructure. This decentralization has two very powerful effects. First, resilience. If one player fails, another takes its place. Then, speed. When a trend emerges, a manufacturer can simply jump on it without Android needing to detect it. Curved screens, foldables, gamer phones. If someone tests them successfully, the ecosystem follows. Google, on the other hand, remains still, but sees everything. It learns from every attempt, goes to observe and collect. It's a war that is waged without any centralized army. It's a distributed war. Paradoxically, it's this organized chaos that creates Android's coherence. In contrast, Apple stands as a stronghold. Everything there is integrated, controlled, refined, but also slow to evolve, limited, and closed. Because when Apple releases one model a year, Android releases 100, which means 100 different ways to attract, 100 opportunities to learn, and 100 times more potential users. Are you looking for an €80 phone? Android offers it. At €200, at €1,000, at €1,800. Android 2 for teens, for professionals, for gamers. Android is everywhere. And it's not a coincidence. It's the result of an invisible but extremely powerful strategy. Delegate the conquest to those who have an interest in Android winning. And in this game, Google doesn't need to pull the trigger. It just needs to let others move forward, always with Android as the engine. Google understands that mobile is not just a product, but an extension of ourselves. To be present in people's lives, you must be accessible, available, and adaptable, not just exist. Android didn't conquer the world by being the best, it conquered it by being everywhere. No matter who you are, where you live, how much you earn, there's an Android for you. Android is present in Europe, the United States, India, Nigeria, and Brazil. in cities, rural areas, schools, and businesses. Because Android has never sought to control the high end, it has aimed for volume. Android has permeated every aspect of digital life by enabling manufacturers to cater to all market segments and niches. The result is that in some countries, more than 90% of smartphones run on Android. And that's not all. Android didn't stop at the phone. It's in smartwatches, tablets, TVs, cars, connected devices, even in some household appliances. And being everywhere is not just a marketing strategy, it's a power strategy. The more Android is present, the more Google collects data, and the more it collects, the more it refines its services, which makes Android even more essential. This ubiquity also has another effect, its dependence. Millions of users depend on Android to connect, work, entertain themselves, but also governments, businesses, and developers. Because the Android ecosystem has become a standard that is invisible, flexible, modular, but as dominant as Windows was on PCs. Here it's everywhere, in your pockets, on your wrists, in your living rooms and cars. We've stopped discussing Android as an operating system altogether. We talk about a global digital environment, a matrix, a fabric, a permanent background on which all your digital activities rely. And that's precisely what Google wanted, not just to exist, but to integrate into your daily life in an almost invisible way. And by being everywhere, Android has become impossible to circumvent. It did not impose itself through a revolutionary product, but rather through a systemic strategy. By opening up where others were closing, by delegating where others were centralizing, by being everywhere all the time. It's not just a technical victory, it's a lesson in digital power in a world it dominates. And this world, it is shaped by invisible choices, by platforms that don't ask for your opinion, but decide for you. And the real question is no longer how did Android win, but rather who really controls the tools you use every day, and what are you really exposing yourself to?